And today we have a webinar with Paul Holbrook, one of our advisory board members. And Cody and I really been following Paul, I think, kind of in secret. I don't even know if he knew we were following him, just kind of paying attention to what he was doing from a distance. And Paul has been running Age Performance in Salt Lake City for, I think it's over a decade now, isn't it, Paul?
Yes.
And so we've just been kind of looking at him as really a pioneer in the fitness industry for boomers and seniors, and I would say swimming upstream compared to what most of the fitness industry has been focused on for the past 20 years. And so he's been doing it longer than we have, and we are honored to have him on our board, and excited that he's coming to our summit and going to share with folks and network with folks, have lunch with folks. And so thanks for getting on this webinar today. And Paul, I'm going to pretty much turn it over to you, and you can kind of give us the background on Age Performance and how you got started.
Okay. Thank you, and thank you everyone for attending. And gosh, I really appreciate this opportunity because I have such a passion for it, and I just get so excited about it. And it's been a real pleasure to be involved with the Functional Aging Institute as a board member for the last year. You know, the FAI group, Dan and Cody, have done such a great job and have such great vision and presenting information and certifications that are so badly needed in the industry. Very progressive work. So, gosh, so I started training probably 22, 23 years ago, and I started out in a regular gym, but I started from the get-go working with older adults, and I did that, well, I'll get into that later, but 10 years ago, I started Age Performance, and I wanted a facility that was specifically just for boomers or seniors, where they felt comfortable and not intimidated, and programming was appropriate, and that kind of thing. And so we're located in Salt Lake City, Utah, and we have 6 trainers. We do like 130, 40 hours a week of training, and just have a really good time. So what happened, Dan, if you can go to the next slide. So Dan's going to control my slides because I can't do it from my end. I kind of fouled up on getting on, so go ahead. So when I first got going into training, you know, I've always worked out myself over the years, and like most of you, and I remember going to visit my Uncle Doug in a nursing home here in Salt Lake, and when I was in there, I saw these old, frail adults, and I thought, gosh, what would happen if they did some resistance training, you know, like athletes do? I thought, well, it would either kill them or they would get remarkably better. And I just had that thought, and it kind of jazzed me. And so I went to the library. And by the way, let me back up. I kind of don't like this photo because this is what you see in assisted living or retirement communities where they're just sitting and doing these ridiculous lifts. And Cody and Dan and I have had a lot of conversations about this. This is not what we advocate. And I put this in here so we could at least talk about it. You know, this is not what we want to do. Is this? We have to have, you know, much better programming than this, where they're doing much more functional movements. Hence the Functional Aging Institute. But I started doing some, after I kind of had this realization or this thought, I went to the library and started doing some studying and picked up books and started noticing that there was some early research in the early 90s on strength training in older adults. And so go to the next slide, I think.
Yeah, is everybody seeing the slides okay? We've got one person who said they're not seeing them for some reason. But it looks like most of you are seeing it okay. So you put your hand up if you're not seeing it. Julie, for some reason, I'm not sure why you're not seeing the screen. I'm going to pause it for 1 second, Paul, and then turn your
just let me know when to resume.
Slides back on. So now you shouldn't. I don't think you're going to see my screen anymore. I'm going to go ahead and play it again, and maybe that will solve it. But so yeah, Ball State, true to my Hoosierville here. I think David Letterman went to Ball State, didn't he? And he retires tonight. So how fitting.
Yeah, exactly. That's why I put this on here for David Letterman. You know, it's so funny because I hired a new trainer about 4 months ago, and he's from Ball State. He played football there, and we were there actually at the same time. We didn't know it. So, am I okay to go on?
Yeah, you're okay.
Okay, um, so I started training, I guess in 1992, 93, and realized early on I wanted to work with older adults. I just had this sense that that's the group that needed it, and it was that episode with my uncle in the nursing home that really kind of clicked with me. And so I looked at gerontology programs. The University of Utah had one, but they didn't have a good connection with exercise science, and I found out that Ball State did. Great exercise science program. They had this great gerontology program, so I went there and got a master's degree there. And then went on to Tufts University after that to do an internship. And it was only a year after, I was there a year after that they did that landmark study in the New England Journal of Medicine. And I think this is where the real kicker is, because of older adult training, one of the real kickers, or at least early on, because, it's been around for a while, exercise for older adults, but what really kicked it was, by golly, they can do more than what we think, and they can push and pull and lift weights just like athletes, 80% of 1RM. So I went to Tufts and studied with Maria Fierrone, who did that landmark study in New England Journal of Medicine. And I refer to this study all the time. So if you're out there, write this down. It's Fierrone's last name, Fiatarone, I believe. And it was 100 residents. Average age was 87. Many of them were in wheelchairs and walkers, canes, and they put them on a 12-week program, and the results were astonishing. 110% increase in muscle strength, and 28% increase in the ability to climb stairs, and then they improved their walking speed by a half mile an hour. Now, that's because they worked at 80% of 1RM, and that was just increasing strength. But that was the kicker. It was safe and huge improvements. And then the people, also became more social as a byproduct. And I was able to work with some of those people about a year after that study. So let's go to the next slide, I think.
Sure.
Oh, that's just a visual of our place now. We're about 3,500 square feet. Have mostly Kaiser pneumatic equipment, of course, TRX, kettlebells, a lot of open floor space. Okay, next slide. Okay, so Dan and Cody talk a lot about this. When you hear them present, they do a great presentation on the perfect storm. And boy, is it ever the perfect storm. You've got boomers that are really interested in health and staying active. You've got boomers' parents that, are maybe ailing, but still can benefit, profoundly from our services. So you've got this, huge aging society, and then a huge, kind of wellness revolution, or emphasis on wellness these days. You look at everything out there, and it's all about wellness as everyone's trying to get into. Okay, next slide, Dan. So again, this is, health and longevity. Everybody's looking for it, particularly the baby boomers. They want to be healthy. They want to be active. So they're really looking for services out there that are going to benefit them, or that are specifically for them. And we, again, when I first started doing this, it's just been kind of started too early, really, because it was a long haul back then. Nobody wasn't really talking about this. And again, Dan and Cody and I talk a lot about this. And it's only been within the last 2 years that people, or at least kind of people in the fitness industry, are starting to take note, are starting to talk about it. It's starting to really percolate. And so it's a wonderful time to get into this, to start looking at this market, to start working with this age group.
Paul, let me ask you a quick question, because you mentioned it, and I find it interesting. Have you found in your business that the boomers lead to getting you their parents, or sometimes you get the parents and then they lead to getting you their boomer kids?
It's mostly, we get both in, on different occasions, but we often get a boomer bringing in their aging parent. Now, sometimes the boomer realizes they need the same thing. Oftentimes they don't, which they do. I mean, they're kind of blindsided, but they choose not to do, to do it with them or to do it separately.
Okay.
But we get both. We get both.
Okay. You ready to go on?
So every second someone turns 65. Huge numbers. And then what's amazing, it's just truly amazing. When you look at the economies in the world, there's this economy called the longevity economy. And it's the people over the age of 50 in our country. So when you look at the world's largest economies, it's US, it's China, and then it's the 50-plus crowd in our country that is the third largest economy in the world. And that just blows me away. Huge, huge numbers there. So the fourth largest economy is Japan. All right, next slide. Okay, so again, perfect storm. They're looking for what we can give them. I just got an email yesterday from this woman. She remembers me from, again, 15, 18 years ago when I was working at a regular gym. And when I was working at that regular gym, before I opened up Age Performance, I was still working with older adults. I mean, that's what I was focusing on and emphasizing my business on. I was just in a regular gym. And I knew that it wasn't really conducive for them. I knew in my mind I needed to create another, a business specific for them. But she remembers me from way back then. And she said, here I am, I'm 62. I remember you, 15 years ago working with older adults. She goes, I'm in the same boat. I'm not feeling well. My health is bad. I need to do something. And she really writes me a desperate email. And this was just yesterday. I'm going to meet her tomorrow at 8 o'clock in the morning with her husband. So they're both going to come tomorrow. Now, Dan, and the rest of you, that's something we do a lot of too, which is just happen is we work with a lot of couples. It's wonderful because it's something they can do together, but yet kind of separate because they're maybe doing different things or whatever. But there's a little bit of a separateness to it, but they're doing something together, which is involved in the personal training. But that's worked out really well working with these couples. Okay, so they're looking for quality of life. They're looking for strength. They're looking to be more active with their grandkids. They don't want to give that up. They want to still be able to pick their grandkids from the ground and play with them and roll around on the ground with them if they can. They need to care for a spouse. That might be one of their motivating, issues. Or oftentimes we hear that they injure themselves on their own when they try to do it on their own. And, and it's just really clear that people really are looking for something and they really don't know what to do. They really are, because they really are kind of confused because there's so much information out there right now. Okay, next slide. I think it's a photo of a grand. Oh no. So this is what they're not looking for, right? Pretty obvious. They're not looking to build muscle. They're really not losing to weight. They are to a degree. I mean, everyone wants to, but they really are more motivated about feeling better, being stronger, moving better, and being more functional. That's what they're looking for. The regular gyms really are intimidating. This is our lives, and I get intimidated too by, I won't go into a story because I don't want to take up too much time, but they are intimidating, and it's a turnoff for older adults. And by the way, I'm an older adult, so I'm now in that category. I'm 52, and I'm even thinking like, when my gym is 50 plus, and I thought, well, when I turn 50, I'm going to change my gym to 51 plus, so I never fit in, but not going to do that. Okay, next slide. Okay, so this is what we're about, is enjoying life longer. There's this idea, right, that we're living longer, and our lifespan is really extending, but our health span is falling short. There was a researcher by the name of Dr. Evans. I can't remember his first name. Maybe you remember Dan, I think from Pennsylvania. But he had this wonderful graph that showed our lifespan going way, way, way out. And then the other line showed our health span kind of falling to the 0 mark, not extending out with our lifespan. So we want our health span and our lifespan to go equal all the way out until, eventually we just die of natural causes. Okay, next slide. Okay, so why own an age performance, or why start your own facility working specifically for this market? Next slide.
Sure.
Okay, so again, this market is the 3rd largest economy in the world. I do feel like we're an industry leader. We've been doing this long enough and have recognition among certain associations and in the country. Actually, even in South Korea, we've got some recognition there. This work, whether it's with any demographic, but you're working a right livelihood. I think of this almost every day that I go in to train or I go into work, that I'm really doing some wonderful work, or I'm living a right livelihood. I'm not in a profession that may not be the most high esteemed, but I'm really putting in good value and contributing a lot to society, I believe, and we all are doing that. They're working in the fitness or wellness field. We have 2 taglines. One of them is transform your quality of life, and so we do transform the quality of life, for our the people we train. But if maybe somebody's on this webinar that's not even looking into, that's maybe just looking to get into the fitness field, it's a way to transform your quality of life. I really appreciate that every day I'm up and down on the floor demonstrating exercises. I'm moving back and forth, and my body feels great. If I didn't, I'm pretty sure I'd have some back issues, some pretty severe ones. But nevertheless, you can really transform your own quality of life by getting into this market. And then the other one is strength to change the way we age. I think, well, I don't think, but I know that we're providing strength to older adults, but we have to provide function. I think 2 of the most important things that we can provide are strength and power, and that's a whole other discussion. And we talk a lot about that, Cody and Dan and I, about power is such a huge thing for older adults to improve their physical function. They need that speed of movement and that force. Okay, next slide. So what makes this different? So I think our environment, it's very conducive, non-intimidating. Again, we set out and we put our stake in the ground and say, this is who we are. We're training just older adults, 50 plus. And so we don't get, we get some 40-year-olds, and we had a 14-year-old girl that had a heart transplant. They knew that we were good at training kind of that frail body, and so they brought her in and we brought her back up to speed. But for the most part, people want to go, younger kind of 20 and 30-year-olds, that want big muscles are really not going to want to come here. We don't have big enough weights for them. But I think, so just making that claim also makes it attractive for the professionals in the healthcare professionals, the doctors, the physical therapists, the OTs, the nurse practitioners and physician assistants. They know who we are. They know we can care for older adults really well, and so they'll refer to us quite often. And I think too, our programming is really important. Again, it's all based on the values that they want or the things they want in terms of enjoying life better. So, a lot of what we do is, power training and speed training. And, again, to me, it's just so interesting that a big reason we move slower as we get older, a huge reason, is because we've lost that fast twitch muscle fiber. And so it boggles my mind why we are such a why there's such a big emphasis on endurance races. Again, I think if you're in your 20s or 30s, that's fine. But as we get older, 5Ks, 10Ks, marathons, it's almost like the longer you can go, the better it is. And I often in my presentations will make a statement that I think as we get older into our 50s, 60s, 70s, that long distance work does us more harm than good, just because I can't see any value in it, except for increasing the health of your heart and lungs. Well, so does short duration stuff too, as we all know, high intensity stuff. So anyway, that's a whole other story, but one that just really is passionate to me, or it just kind of irks me. I think
you just wanted to open up a whole can of worms.
Yeah, no, we're going to move on here. But our programming and our environment and how we work with the older adults is what makes us different. Okay, next slide. So I think, to work with this market, there's certain things that are required. Of course, I mean, being a practitioner or a trainer that, you produce results, you get results. You've got to get results, right? And, there's just no bottom line. They have to feel the results, and if they do, then they're going to share it. They're going to tell friends and family members, and you'll get a lot of referrals that way. I think you have to have the right environment. I think the two are hard to mix in terms of one for younger people and one for older, in terms of music and light and the noise and the kind of the things or the obstacles that might be on the floor, those that may cause someone to trip, those kinds of things. So I think a strong commitment to this field is important, or to this age group. Again, I said this a few slides earlier. I think because the healthcare community sees us, that we're committed for this age group, gives us a lot of notoriety, and they feel safe sending their patients to us because of what we're doing and then how committed we are. Empathy, having a lot of empathy is a big part of it. Of course, I think these are pretty self-explanatory, but patience is a big one too. I mean, it just requires so much more patience, genuine patience, so that they feel safe, they feel trusted, and they can sense that you really care. Because there's a quote, nobody really knows or cares how much you know until they really know how much you care. So I think patience is a really big one, and also being, caring for them. Okay, next slide. So for our, so what's offered at our, doing a franchise through us or taking on an age performance franchises, operational support, how the training and how to operate the business. And then the marketing support, what kind of marketing efforts out there. One of our best things we do is called, is we teach an OSHER class. OSHER is a lifelong learning program at a lot of universities throughout the country. So it's a program for 50 plus. They sign up for the OSHER program, OSHER. They can take all kinds of classes, from wine tasting to writing to Middle Eastern studies to World War II to fitness, wellness. And boy, there's your market right there. So we teach the class. We teach it. We get to teach it through the University of Utah at Age Performance. So we get a group of 15 people 3 times a year for a period of 6 weeks, and we teach them. And then after that, they, we like what you do, and they will join our program. So anyway, so purchasing support, ongoing research and development. I think we do a really good job on keeping up on the latest of training and really keeping that on the high, just really dialed in on that. I'm really proud of our program, and credit to our trainers too that work really hard and keep up on the latest as well. Overall program oversight, mastering your training skills. Again, I think we've been doing this long enough, and so we know what works and what doesn't. And then a territory of a 5-mile radius or population of 100,000 people. We wondered whether we should franchise or just do licensure, and there's pros and cons to both. One of the things though is you get a territory. With the licensure, you don't. I mean, if you look at CrossFit, there's CrossFits all over the place, right? Just down the block from one another. So a lot of times they're having to lower their price and they're just kind of killing each other off. And, I think you're seeing kind of a little bit of demise of CrossFit, maybe or maybe not. But with, with kind of a protected territory, I think that's a huge thing. Okay, next slide.
Yeah, I just want to, before we get into some of the nuts and bolts, couple things, Paul, and I should have done this in the introduction. Two things. One is, I would say one of the biggest requests we have had at FAI in the past year is, are you ever going to have FAI franchises? And our answer to that has always been no. And then people say, are you ever going to franchise Miracles Fitness? And our answer to that has been no.
Because you're smart.
And I think some people say, well, we want to just copy your business model and do it. And of course, we have the advanced program where people can come here and copy our business model if they want to do that. But at FAI, we don't have any interest in getting into the business franchise sort of things, and we're certainly excited that you are looking to tackle that sort of challenge. But one of the things I wanted to talk about, and I forgot at the introduction, was just to talk about, your business model is uniquely different from ours, Paul, in that I remember when Cody and I first had dinner with you the first time, and we were sort of scratching our heads going, wait a minute, you don't train people after 4:30? And you said, well, I like to go home at 3, and then you said, and you actually said to us, we're quite successful and we really don't want to train anybody after 5, and Cody and I were just sort of like, really? Like, I mean, do you actually close your doors at 5 every day? Is that pretty much kind of your business operation?
I mean, yes, absolutely. Because of course when I first started training, I was training early morning, late at night, Saturdays, as much as I could. But as I gravitated more towards this market, it's mostly from, we do a few early mornings, 6 a.m., but the big bulk of our training is obviously from 8 until 12 or 1, and then we still train in the afternoon. I mean, these people have the time. They're retired. They have the resources, so we have plenty of work during the middle of the day. Quite frankly, they don't want to come at night. I mean, they're done. So it's partly a choice on ours. It's a choice on theirs. So it doesn't make sense. We get plenty of our work in, and we have kind of normal kind of business working hours. So my schedule is early in the morning, and then I'm through, around 2:30, 3. And then we have other trainers that do want to work in the evening. When I say evening, they're working till maybe 6, but then they're through. One guy has some other stuff going on in the mornings, but he comes in around 1 and then works till about 6. So yeah, I mean, we have.
I think the key takeaway, especially for people, and we're going to get to people's questions here in a minute, but I think the key takeaway for people listening to the recording is that your business model allows for people to close at 4, 4:30, 5 o'clock in the afternoon, and you have all the business you need that you don't need to stay open after 5. And that, I think, to me, that is a foundational shift in the fitness industry for somebody to say, you can be a successful trainer and you don't have to work 6 a.m. to 10 a.m. and come back and work 4 p.m. to 9 p.m. You can have a life and you can see your kids' sporting activities and go out to dinner like a regular person, and that to me, I know was really a kind of a real shattering moment for Cody and I when we sat down with you, because our facility is open till 8 o'clock at night, which is still not as late as many fitness places, but we just realized, hey, you don't have to set up your business model to do that. So I'll let you continue, and then we are going to get to people's questions. We've got a couple questions coming in.
Okay, so and again, this has just been my life for the last 10, 15 years, working this way, and so it's kind of like just normal to me, and so I kind of forget the days of being late. So it's just it's hard. Anyway, that's how it is. So we're done here. This is the last slide. If you're interested, I'm going to be at the FAI Summit. Boy, that's going to be such a great event. I'm telling you guys, if you're not signed up, get signed up for it. It's going to be a super good event. I'm going to be there. If you have any other questions, if you're there about our model, about our franchise, we can talk. We have an evaluation form that you can fill out. There's some information on our website. Up on the right-hand, on the top, on the right-hand side is a tab for getting some more information about it. We can talk on the phone. You can come for a day to just look at it. That's what Dina did. She's on the webinar. She came up last Friday and had a great time with her and had some great discussion. And it was really great to do that with her. And then you can review a franchise agreement and then join the Age Performance team. So that's it. We can take some questions.
The website again is ageperformance.com, correct? Ageperformance.com.
Yes, sir. Yeah, ageperformance.com.
Okay. Very simple. Okay, well let's take a couple questions, and everyone on, please post your comments or questions at this point, and we'll try to get to those. So Martin asked, how many locations do you currently have?
Well, we're just starting. So we have one, which is in Salt Lake City, Utah. For years, people were saying, get a franchise. We just haven't. So we spent this past year getting it ready. We're ready now. So we're just starting to market, and we haven't even really pushed it hard. This is like the start. So we've got Dina in Sunnyvale, Silicon Valley area, looking at it. And we have a person up in Ogden, Utah looking at it. And then there's a guy in Park City, Utah that just called me the other day. So we're just starting out. So we just have one right now in Salt Lake City.
Yeah, great question. Exciting thing about that is really the 42 people live on this webinar are getting in on the ground floor. So you heard it here first, and you can be one of those people 10 years from now that say, remember when that Age Performance kicked off? I was there. So Ruth asks a interesting question, Paul. Are franchise opportunities available outside the U.S.?
Yes, most definitely.
Okay. Yes, most definitely. Great. Ruth, we'd love to know what country you're in. If you could post that, that would be interesting for us. Bonnie asked a great question, Paul. We talk about this a lot. So do you do any group training, small group personal training, or just one-on-one training?
So I'm kind of old school, and we do what just works for us. So most of what we do is one-on-one. Now, we do some small groups, but not a lot. Miracles has been really successful at doing small groups. We've just done mostly, personal training. We do couples training, but again, we do some small groups, but it's mostly one-on-one personal training is what it is. And you for certainly could do both. I mean, most places are doing both, so it can be both. But again, to answer your question, most of what we do is one-on-one or buddy training or these couples trainings that we're doing.
Okay, great. Kevin asked a really good question. Why can't you divide a space for different populations at different times of day? So 33 to 55-year-olds training early morning, and then 50-plus training after 8 a.m. and tackle two niches.
You could do that, but I wouldn't. I mean, I would maybe have two separate rooms completely walled off. But I wouldn't mix the two rooms. Kind of, if that's what I'm getting, is kind of different time. I mean, because I think the message, again, this is my experience and our vision at Age Performance. You're out there to service this market. Why give mixed messages? Again, what's been really wonderful for us is the healthcare practitioners, the doctors, the healthcare practitioners, we see what you're doing. You are really dedicated to this market. Let's send our patients there. I'm telling you, with all the changes in healthcare and the Obamacare and how hospitals and doctors are going to get penalized for, recurring or what is it, visits, they get their patients coming back in 30 days. They're going to look for places where their patients can go and get really good training, really good results, so they don't get, these penalties. I just think it's a better way to position yourself. Now, again, if you want to do that, great, but I think you've got to commit. You've got to take the plunge if you want to go after this market. And I mean, there's more than one way to succeed, but I think if you want to succeed at this market, you just have to commit to it.
Yeah. I guess I would add to Kevin's. It probably depends a little bit on how your space is laid out. Some trainers we have talked to have they literally have like two training studios, two training areas, and so then you
Right.
probably could split up. And
Right.
we have found, because we focus on the 50 plus, we have found we get 35 to 50-year-old women before work, after work, and even in the middle of the day, just because they're comfortable in our place, and we don't even try to get them. We just get them. But I
Right.
think because our environment is conducive to that, So,
Now,
but I
right.
think,
And obviously, if I get a 35-year-old that wants to come in, I'm not going to turn them away.
right, sure. Let's see. Ruth says she's in Australia, so happy Thursday to Ruth. It must be Thursday morning already. So thanks for joining us. That's great. Ed asks if this is going to be rebroadcast. The recording will be made available. It will be sent out to everyone that's listening, and it will also be made available to the 120 or so that weren't on with us live today. So it will be available. We'll also put it on the Facebook page. So webinars that we record, we always put on our Facebook page. Calvin asks a great question. Would this work for a small, he says, not tiny studio to start out? So is this going to work for a small studio? And maybe you can go over kind of the size of your studio, Paul.
Yeah, it will. I mean, there's a couple ways you can do this. So again, our size is about 3,700 square feet. That's including bathrooms and 2 offices. The workout area is probably around 2,700 square feet. If you had a smaller studio than that, it would definitely work. If you're a sole practitioner working by yourself, it would definitely work. If you have a studio, and you want to transform it, like you're working, like that's what Dina's doing. She has a ladies' fitness club, and she's thinking about transforming it. So if you already have a studio, you want to transform it into 50 plus only, you can certainly do that or start new. But anyway, yeah, you definitely would work with, any kind of size in terms of probably anywhere from, I don't know, 1,000, 1,500 square feet on up to, 4,000 or maybe a little larger than that.
Okay, great, perfect. Kevin asks a good question on sort of franchise fees, royalty fees, those sorts of things, and I'm just going to direct people to email you directly at paul@ageperformance.com if they want to have that conversation about sort of what it costs and getting into the discovery and getting on a phone consultation with you if they want to do that. So let's do 2 more, maybe 3 more questions. Is it possible to create an age performance in a partnership with a local university in order to provide the program for older adults? Have you given any thought to collaborating with universities? And this may be something you want to discuss with, looks like Leanne in person, but what are your thoughts on that?
We've done some collaboration with the University of Utah. They have a wellness program, and executive wellness programs where they work with executives, throughout the valley here in Salt Lake, and they do a whole wellness makeup, and they like our training style and what we do, and so they will refer their executives to come to our facility for the training. I'm not quite sure if that's what you mean, but yeah, I mean, anything's possible. But that's an arrangement we have already with the University of Utah.
Okay.
Can I answer that question, Dan?
Yeah, and I think you did. She, actually, I'm not sure if it's she or he. So they responded, and I told them to reach out to you directly at Paul.
Yeah, go ahead and call me, email me, or call me.
Yep,
And I can before this is over, I can give you my phone number at work.
Last question. We'll take Tony's question. What do you take any sort of baseline evaluation data to track your progress for your senior clients, and maybe just in a couple minutes kind of give us how you evaluate, assess, those sorts of things?
Yeah, so we'll do the 8-foot up and go, 30-second chair stand. We also do a timed 5-rep chair stand. So it's going to measure a little bit more power and give us an idea of how well their dynamic balance is. So we'll time them how long it takes to do 5 stands. We'll do a 1-foot balance. We'll do an active straight leg raise, and then we also do what's called what we call 6-point rocks, which is just on all 4s. Your toes are on the ground, your knees are on the ground, your hands are on the ground, and you rock back your hips to your heels. And that's a super good assessment to assess mobility issues or stability issues, and anyone can do it. So yeah, we have some assessments that we do as a baseline, and then measure like 6 weeks later or whatever. But we use that as a baseline.
Yeah. Okay. Great. Great. Well, this has been great, Paul. Thanks so much for hopping on with us and kind of laying out the history of age performance and what you're doing here at FAI. We're certainly excited to see somebody taking the plunge in the franchising. I certainly, what we are seeing in FAI, and I think you've even seen this, Paul, with some of the workshops, is we're seeing more and more people entering the fitness arena in their 50s and 60s. I mean, it is sort of the classic baby boomer, right there. They are the reinvention generation, and they're coming in their 50s and 60s saying, hey, I'm tired of the corporate life, or I made a lot of money, I was successful doing this, and now I want to do something that is fun and gives back and helps people and transforms lives, and so this really looks like sort of the perfect business opportunity for people.
Yeah, I mean, it's just fabulous. It's just fabulous, and I mean, it's just it's just such a wonderful industry to be in for all of us. But also, it's what we said earlier. There's just been more excitement around this, working with this population in the last 2 years than ever before. And we've talked about that before, Dan.
Yeah.
So, again, whether you do age performance or not, I mean, it's just a great time to get into this market. So I would highly encourage them. Can I just quickly give out my number if someone wants to call? I'm not at the office right now, so just leave a message if you call right now. But it's 801-467-6554. And then it's paul@ageperformance.com is the email.
Yeah, fantastic. Yeah, I absolutely agree. I believe we have seen the tipping point in terms of the fitness industry finally waking up to the sleeping giant that has been laying at the doorstep, knocking on the door, asking for help. And let's face it, the fitness industry for far too long has been focused on a youth focus, a vanity focus, a weight loss focus, and has sort of not realized that there's all these people over 50 that have different needs, different goals, different dreams. They're at a different stage of life, and so I think your slide earlier, if that doesn't make people realize this is a gigantic business opportunity. I mean, the longevity economy is the third largest economy in the world. I mean, we're talking about really an untapped market. So thanks so much for what you're doing, Paul. Thanks so much for how you've helped Functional Aging Institute get off the ground, and look forward to seeing you in just a couple of weeks here in Phoenix, where I'm sure the weather will not be rainy and will probably be very sunny and very warm. So
and hoping, maybe wishing that it was raining.
Yeah. I asked them, what are the odds that it will rain for our evening social, and she said, not likely, and I don't want to talk about it. So, she said if we talk about it, then the 1 in 1,000 chance will happen. So thanks so much to everyone who joined us today. We had over 40 folks on live, and I know we had over 100 that want the recording. And for those of you that tune into the recording, remember you can contact Paul directly at paul@ageperformance.com. Thanks so much.